we'll see if we can finish up on the positive side of things. So currently, right now, we have the SP 500 higher in September by about 2.86%. Pretty good, strong performance for a month, especially the month of September. NASDAQ's up a bit more than that, up about 5%. Dow Industrial's up a couple of percent, but the Russell 2000 is doing nicely. It's up 3.2% for the month of September. That index was a little bit weak on Friday, but still had a real positive week, up almost 2%. Certainly helped by the cut in rates by the Fed last week. Remember, they cut rates from 4.25 down to 4%. It looks like they're going to be cutting rates maybe at least twice in the foreseeable future. We have 2 more meetings left, one in October, one in December. It looks like the Fed is set and ready to cut rates at each one of those meetings, if not a double at one of those meetings as well, too. So I think they're worried a little bit about employment and weakening employment that could trickle down into a weakening economy. So, excuse me, it appears that the SP 500 with new all-time highs is reflecting some of that enthusiasm and excitement over lower interest rates, lower borrowing costs, and we'll see where it goes from there. So the interesting thing about markets here is last week we had all 4 indices: the Russell 2000, the NASDAQ, the SP 500, and the Dow Industrials all closed at all-time highs last week. It was on Friday, so that was a real positive move for the indices, and we'll see if there's some more follow through here. It's going to be a light week in terms of economic data. We have some PMI data coming out. We have some sentiment data as well too, and earnings are going to be sparse, but a couple of big names coming out. We have Micron coming out. MU is the symbol on that one. That has my interest. That's coming out after the close on Tuesday. We'll also have Costco on Thursday and Accenture as well too on Thursday, along with one of my other favorites that I do have some calls on, Jabil Circuits. JBL is the symbol on that one. As I mentioned to you, not a whole lot of data coming out, but there are a lot of Fed speakers coming out this week, including Chair Powell coming out talking tomorrow at some point in time. And I think there's no less than 14 speeches or speaking engagements by the Fed this week. It is a huge week for Fed speak. So pay attention to what people are saying, what these, and obviously coming off of last week's meeting and policy action on rates. I don't think there's going to be a whole heck of a lot that changes, but still it's going to be interesting to hear some of these people. You know, I'm one of those Fed nerds who like to listen to what some of these people, some of the dry language that some of them have to say, because it's interesting to me, and I like to see where the heads are at on the Fed. So if you have a chance to listen to that, or if you're bored, a name that we have had for a while that is up nicely, which is IREN, IREN, it's IR Energy. It's up about 10%. Look at that. So I have it's closed on Friday about 39.87. It's up about 10% so far this morning. I have a lot of calls on this one, and we've been playing it a lot in the chat room. So if you're not in the chat room, that's where you should be at. You should be coming into the chat room, paying attention to what's going on, and making some money with us. Go to explosiveoptions.net to find out how to get involved in the chat room. I think that's going to be it. I'm going to tell you this. You got to play it a little bit lighter over the next several days, and probably would be a good time to continue reducing your risk. Now, we talked about that last week. We talked about how important it was to take some risk off the table and wait for the next moment when there's going to be a buying opportunity. I don't think this is that buying opportunity yet, although there's going to be some buy the dip crowd coming in there and trying to pick off some names. But I think this is a good time to, excuse me, cut some risk, cut some losers, take off some winners, size things a little bit lower than you normally would, because, you know, there's going to be a huge whack day, and who really wants to be around when that happens. So we have the oscillators up, split once again. We have the New York Stock Exchange oscillator down over here. It's in negative territory. The NASDAQ is a positive 56. So that's again showing a split story over here. And I think there's going to be some, volatility here over the next, 6 or 7 days, certainly coming into the end of the month and end of the quarter. You're going to see some of that. Also, don't forget, tonight is Rosh Hashanah, and this next 10 days, generally speaking, most traders and investors who are Jewish, they step away from the markets for about 10 days. There's an old saying that says, sell Rosh Hashanah by Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, obviously, the Day of Atonement. This is when the 10-day holiday for the new year ends, and it will be in about 10 days. And that's when, they used to say back in the day that the buyers come back after Yom Kippur. So we'll see if that holds true here. It's an old anecdote that used to work many, many years ago. It doesn't work every single time these days. None of these calendar anecdotes work all the time, but be interesting to follow and see what happens. I think following the expiration Friday, we were looking for some weakness coming into this weekend. Certainly, we got it. VIX is up a little bit today. We're seeing a big surge in gold, up $43, more than 1%. A huge surge in silver, almost up 2% as well too. So we'll see if those trends continue, but bonds are slightly down. Yields are up a little bit today. It looks like it's going to be a risk-off day today. So pay attention, focus, and reduce some risk today, and and get ready for the next move, whichever that may be. And if you're going to be making some earnings plays, take a look at the names that I talked with you about earlier this morning. So have a great day, and big game tonight. Detroit Lions at Baltimore. Be a really, really fantastic game. It could be a Super Bowl preview. Who knows? Appreciate everyone spending a little time with me, and I'll see you guys all back on Thursday. Thanks.
Friends are back for Monday Night Time.